Hi everybody, I've been exiled to the corner of doom. Hopefully I'll be back in the other room again soon, but please excuse the slightly unprofessional vibes today. But what I thought I'd do is a bit of low effort content because, I mean, that's basically all I can do at the moment. But I thought I could have a little discussion about practice. And it sort of follows on from a conversation I was having from somebody the other day. Actually, somebody watches the channel in real life at a gig. So they said something quite interesting, which is like, obviously when you watch YouTube, you don't see people practice. You just see, like somebody might demonstrate, an exercise in thirds, whatever it is. I mean, I don't know how many hours I've spent practicing that pattern, for instance, all over the neck. You don't get to see how the sausage is made. Occasionally, I think I saw a Music is Win video once, which is pretty good on the subject. One of the ones that wasn't just talking about neural DSP or whatever sponsor he had. It's not something that tends to happen a lot in the YouTube world. And of course, obviously, as we're always pushed to kind of make videos punchier and more engaging, the idea of watching somebody practice something for like 15 minutes for most people would be like watching paint dry. For me, what is practice? Well, for me, it's approaching the instrument with an intention to get better at something. So this could be a piece of music. It could be an exercise to improve your time feel or your ears or your reading, whatever, and it separates itself out from free playing, and free playing is a good thing, or noodling. If, for instance, you are primarily playing the instrument because you enjoy it, not because you're a professional or an aspiring professional, then that will have to be an important part of your playing time. You might want to devote half of your time to that, and maybe do it after you've done the eating your greens aspect of practicing. Although, I actually really enjoy practicing. I find it very engaging. If I've got a good practice activity, then it's fantastic fun for me. But I'm a bit weird. There's a few things about a good practice activity. First of all, it's something we should be able to assess. We should be able to decide whether or not we are better at it than we were last week. This is quite important, I think, for general sanity. It's very easy, it's very easy to spend 8 hours in your practice room going a bit mad and just going like, oh, well, I don't know. What have I done? What have I done with my day? I don't know. I haven't got it. I've just sat here with a guitar. Obviously it's a luxury to sit with a guitar there for 8 hours, and for most people, it's not really an option, even most professionals, believe it or not. Perhaps for a music student or something, that would be more of an issue most of the time. But even if you got like 1 hour, or half an hour, or even 15 minutes, how you use that time, effectively might be better than just sitting there watching YouTube videos for 8 hours and wondering where your times went, which is something I have spent a lot of time doing over the years, sadly. So because of that, I think really clear, accessible practice activities, things that you can objectively assess. So I'll give you some examples. For instance, I've been working a lot on the evenness of my articulation. And one way I've done that is simply, play and then look at my Logic digital audio workstation and just see how well the little waveforms line up with the clicks and how even they look. I know, it's like, what a stupid way to look at music, but if I do that and I listen back and it's more like that, then it does sound more even. I don't think it will give me a great swing feel, but evenness is a good way to develop your basic technique and articulation on the instrument. And once you're able to play even, then you can incorporate feel very intuitively. At least that's how I see it anyway. So that's one way I do that. It's very objective. It's very narrow. I'm usually playing a piece of music like, a bebop head or something. Here's another thing. So I like to go boop on the forehand while I play a bebop head like Donna Lee. So I go boop, 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 boop. Oh, no, hang on. Boop, 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 You see? So you can see that the beginning bit was okay, but then there was a point where it started to fall apart. Okay, and that bit is the bit that I would practice, right? So, right, okay, so that might be, might do a beep, might be better. Beep. So 1, 2, 3, 4, beep. 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 Ah, yeah. So you can see, like, there's bits where it's okay and bits where it's less okay. So the way you could break that down, if you're not quite sure where to put your beep or your boop, is to go any noise you want. You could do a rude word if you like. I don't care. And you, of course, put it on any number or any and that you want. You can also count. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And messed up. Anyway, so yeah, so like that's the kind of thing which I would, it's just one example of a practice exercise. And then later on I put that with the metronome. But it's very accessible. I know when I'm able to do it and I know when I'm not, because when I can't do it, I fall apart. Another kind of assessment is actually doing it in front of a video, because generally it's harder to do anything when you're recording it than when you're playing it. So for instance, if you're learning a piece of music and you want to know whether you really know it, try videoing yourself playing it. Honestly, like, you'll think you've learnt it and then you'll be falling apart in the most ridiculous way. Like, I've been learning this Bach piece, I never make any of those mistakes normally. So, this kind of thing is very, very good. It kind of gives you an idea of where you're actually at. It's very easy to lie to yourself, and recording doesn't lie. It also puts you, I think, more on the spot than actually a gig would. So it's really good for preparation. Yeah. So things like that. Having a really clear objective and making it as narrow as possible. So again, like, if, for instance, a Donna Lee exercise, if I find that I'm not able to do it, it's like finding the bits that I'm not able to do. So this bit's fine for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2. I say that, I can't play it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and one, two, three, four, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. I can't remember what beat it's on now. So, I don't want to sort of bore you too much with my practice, but hopefully that'll give you an idea of, then I'd have to go back to the phrase and then go, on the right beat, or maybe look at the music, or maybe listen to it again. Something to give me my bearings, then come back and then practice it again. So by doing that, and I find that that's quite intense. So I wouldn't want to do more than 5 to 10 minutes of that in one sitting and then move on to another activity. Things like some Mick Goodrick cycle stuff I'm doing at the moment. So, for instance, this is the chord harmony exercise. What's that tune? I think it's my intonation. Anyway, so this is the chord, and then we're gonna do it. This is the voice tuning exercise where we move into different inversions of this. So we're actually going up through the scale, but we're actually, because it's a Mick Goodrick voice leading harmonic cycle, we're actually going the other way. So in terms of voice leading, that works out top 2 voices down by a third, outside voices down by a third, bottom two voices down by a third. Okay, same thing again. What am I doing? That's the one, and then sorry, beg your pardon. So let me just repeat that again so I can do it together. That's obviously fine. And then sounds great, I think. Sounds really nice. For me, a bit out of tune. Okay, that's a chord again. So again, we're kind of doing the top two notes. So this goes down the third here. And then I think we need to refinger it, which itself might be part of the practice activity. And then we need to go, outside voices down like that, and then so on, right? So that then we have a eventually. Pretty cool, huh? So that's an example of how you might do it. That's not the full cycle. Eventually we go back to this one. You have to transpose it up by a couple of octaves and then start it again. But the point is that this is the kind of thing which I can obviously measure. Can I play the cycle all the way through? Yes or no. Can I do it with a metronome? Yes or no. And so on. So these are quite limited exercises which are very, very clear and very, very distinct. Notice, for instance, in the Donna Lee exercise, I'm using a written piece of music. If I was to do an improvised line, it would be a different exercise because I'm just, and also, I could certainly practice that. 2, 3, 4. The last one. So it's a different exercise, but there's a lot more variables there. And also, I wonder if, if I got into doing that, then maybe I would just end up playing like stuff that fit with that little funny noise that I'm making. But like with the and of 4, playing a piece like Donna Lee, I might be forced to do things that I'm not finding rhythmically natural, which is good practice because it teaches me new stuff. And in general, the ideal practice activity is right on that edge of I can't do it, but I know that if I work on it a little bit, I'll be able to do it. And that Donna Lee thing seems like a good example of that. Some practice activities are a little bit more loose. So things like learning tunes. When do you know you've learned a tune? So I use a assessment criteria, which is, or a couple of assessment criteria, which is can you record yourself playing the melody and then soloing over yourself playing a comp, for instance? That if you can do that, it's good enough to play on a gig, I think. But then there's other levels of can you play a chord melody of it? Do you know all the arrangement details from this recording or that recording? Do you know all these different versions of the changes that people might play? So tunes can go really deep. You might think Stella by Starlight, but do you really know Stella by Starlight? So all that stuff's really is it's extendable as a practice activity. But within that, you can break it down to make it achievable. So obviously, if you're learning, for instance, Stella by Starlight or any standard, you might start by learning the melody. Listening to the melody, reading the melody, maybe doing both. And then, once you've got the melody and you can record that, playing that with a metronome in time, maybe, then you might want to focus on the chords. Then you might want to focus on the ways that you could solo on the tune and ways you could, different resources that you could apply over it. Oops, excuse me. And then after doing that, you could perhaps work on a chord melody arrangement. In any case, recording each time to assess yourself. Recording is great because it puts you on the spot, especially filming for some reason. And what happens is you end up becoming much more aware of how well you know something, which is usually much less well than you think. I might have already said that, but it bears saying again. Anyway, just a few thoughts. I'm sure I've missed out loads and forgotten to say stuff. But maybe that's interesting, maybe not, I don't know. I'll probably whack a clickbait title on it and hope that I don't get shouted at by too many people. This is the way it is now, clickbait titles all round, otherwise people don't notice you. They barely notice me as it is. Anyway, I'd be interested to know your thoughts. Please write them below, as always. Drive that interaction. And please like and subscribe and all the other stuff, and check out my new album, links for which will appear somewhere about this space. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.